Hi, everybody. It is the 13th of May, and today is a full moon. And I love actually doing readings on full moon because one is much more intuitive, one is more emotional, one is more of an empath. I'm in any way an empath, but I love to do psychic work on a full moon and around the full moon. So I've prepared a few readings by looking at a few names on my profile on my public page. And those people that give me definite questions like, is my career going to change? And here's my date of birth. Those kind of people I look at and I very quickly see what comes up in my mind. And I then write down what I see. So here I go, because without further ado, I want to give a few readings as a medium, as a clairvoyant, as a psychic, and as a medical intuitive. I want to give short readings, but in the end, like I said in my title, the transformation, the changes, the improvements to yourself are still with you. I do not believe that there is any magic potion that will change your attitude or your direction. And all I can do is tell you what I see, and then the responsibility of taking action in the right direction still lies with you. So it's not my fault if you don't do anything about this, and you cannot really blame anybody else, but look in the mirror and look at yourself if there is no change in your life. So let me start with Darlene Besaidenout. Darlene, you asked me how will it go with you financially? And what I've seen immediately is that your attitude at the moment is very much that people owe you. And even if it's your children, they do not owe you anything. And at the moment, what it's teaching you is that you definitely feel misunderstood, that you need to communicate more appropriately, that anything that was discussed with your children should have been in writing, because especially with family, one needs to communicate clearly. And if it has anything to do with money, one should actually put it in writing, especially if it is all about finance. You will not feel the problems this year, but next year it will show you clearly that it's not that your children really want to hurt you, but that they need to look after themselves, and you need to do the same thing for yourself. Luckily, I can see that you actually need to empower yourself, that you are not at all impaired to do work for yourself and to bring your side to life, and to actually put your energies into action, to focus on your own finances, and to actually find something that empowers you. In other words, you need to be the manager of your own business, or really be in a position of management, or anything where you are solely on your own and you build an own business where you have financial freedom, or that you really work like in a contract business or in contracting, or that you work for a bigger organization where then financial freedom is something that comes your way. I saw also that you very easily go into self-pity, and like in this case, you blame your children. With blaming or naming or even projecting, as you do at the moment, your responsibility onto your children, it will not solve the problem. But it's very important that you look at your attitude, that you also look at your shadow side. The shadow side means that you look at your suppressed side of feeling like a victim, instead of looking at the meaning and the purpose behind this, that your children cannot bring their side or cannot keep their end of the bargain, which is just a bargain. It's not even a business contract. And bargaining is like manipulation. It's not really clean. So, Darlene, you need to take this into both of your hands and work here for yourself and earn your own money, because that's part of the learning lesson. Otherwise, you will have difficulties with finances, especially next year. The next one is for Michelle van der Decken. You asked me if you are on the right treatment. The big thing is, Michelle, that you took somebody else's advice, and that is okay. But what you're taking at the moment is too strong, and you will not change anything here for yourself because you're not looking at the problem. Remember that I'm also a medical intuitive, and what I see here is that you're deeply depressed and unhappy because of relationships. And I feel that at the moment you're trying to medicate a spiritual crisis with chemicals, with allopathic medicines, which will never work. You need to look at the deeper problem of your relationships and know that you are actually somebody who is on a very fine and high vibration, and you need to more rely on alternative medications or naturopathy or homeopathy, and that you will keep on gaining weight, because there's also an issue here with trying to protect yourself, because you're definitely not happy with yourself, or you're trying to fend off relationships. So where your life mission is to be a leader in your own field, to really make a difference. And my feeling is all of this medication and treating yourself, instead of looking at the deeper spiritual self-fulfillment issue here, it's all as a result of depression in relationships. Give this a thought, and if you need more input, which most of you will need, then it's best that you actually get in touch with me for a reading. And by the way, I am available on mariettatiernissen.com, which is my website, and you can book online and pay online wherever you are. I have a lot of clients overseas in Europe and New Zealand and Australia, in Taiwan. So it's not an issue, and I do most of my readings on Zoom, WhatsApp call, WhatsApp voice, in other words, and WhatsApp video. So really no problem. So the next one is for Yolandi. Yolandi, it shows me here that you say, was the move for everybody involved? Was this for a higher purpose that you made the move? And I want to say to you, no. You should have not made the move. You should have stayed where you were and not think that you can take over here for everybody else and make this decision. And you might just decide that you're going to move next year or the year thereafter, because you won't be happy with where you're at. You won't be happy where you are, because it wasn't for your own best will. It wasn't for your own best. Yolandi, your downfall, your shadow side to your personality is that you want to be a leader, that you want to make a difference here. But it's where it's your fall. In other words, that's your evil little mini me. When you are in this kind of position, you will make wrong decisions, which you definitely made. And there is a lot of change coming up. But change is not necessarily negative, because it will set you free, because you are not supposed to be making decisions for your whole family or for any higher purpose, because this is not your higher purpose. I truly think that this was a lesson for you, so see it as a misstep for yourself, and that you will most probably be very impulsive next year. And if you don't make the changes for your own freedom, for your own good, then most probably those changes will be made for you. Be very aware, though, that of course there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear of change because you don't like change. But that's normal, that's human, but it's not for the bigger good. And it's okay if we make a mistake because it's a misstep which we can rectify. And we all make those missteps so that we can learn. So it's not a big deal, really. And you will most likely make big changes within next year. And already your changes that you made were very much based on you were hoping that then you don't have to deal with any kind of possession losses or material losses, or that you're really scared of change. But change is inevitable. The only thing that's secure and the only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes. So be very aware that the rest is always up for change. We cannot stop living in a cycle. We do not live in a linear line. We live in cycles. So never repeat this mistake. The next one is for Rihanna van der Merwe Engelbrecht. Will I ever be happy again? Rihanna, you will learn at the moment that your life mission actually is that you need to be a breadwinner, you need to look after your own security and stability. You were always a caregiver, which is just a comfort zone for you, but not the right action for you. And it's very important that at the moment you focus on yourself, you focus on making money for yourself, and that you create security and stability for yourself. Because within the next year, you will feel that you need to do a lot of spiritual, deeper delving into yourself spiritually to find really what gives you fulfillment. That's very important because your happiness is not lying with outside circumstances or with a relationship. Happiness comes from within. Happiness comes from really doing what makes you happy, really focusing on own things that we decide we want to do and we want to be challenged by, so that we then have a focus point with something that really excites us. So I would say be very careful, Rihanna van der Merwe Engelbrecht, that you don't further go into this thing as if a relationship. So sorry. I'm allergic to so many things. It's a wonder. Just a sec. I had coffee, so I'm allergic to coffee. I can't drink more than 2 cups of coffee per day. I should be walking around with an oxygen tank. So Rihanna van der Merwe Engelbrecht, put the focus back on you, where it belongs. Look at the meaning behind all the relationships that taught you hard lessons, because that's part of life. And these people are our teachers. They come into life to teach us lessons that we are actually on the wrong track, or that we've moved off our track. My feeling is you always try to find a partner who can look after you, money-wise and status-wise, where this is actually something that you need to do for yourself. Please look after yourself, Rihanna, and do not feel sorry for yourself, because your attitude at the moment is as if a relationship is a God-given. It's a gift. It's not a gift. It's magic. It's something that we can also experience in giving love to community, giving love to family, giving love to other people, being kind to your people that crosses the street, finding love with your animals, with your grandchildren, but spreading really love all around is very important for you as well, because you like to serve humanity. But the older you get, the more you will have to learn to stand on your own feet and be independent and be self-sufficient. The next one is Ilse West. Ilse, you're struggling with weight, and I could see why. you have major self-worth issues, and that is not something bad, it just is. Ilse, you're a very deep person. You can very much discipline yourself, which is a good thing. So I would really look at my lifestyle, and I would start cutting out all sugar, all milk, gluten. I would start with taking supplements like 5-HTP, which you can get on Luciette Koza, because it's a natural serotonin, because you also have a fine vibration. You're very much a family person, so you love to give to family, but you also have here certain incidents that I could pick up, which means for me that you had a lot of criticism when you were young, and maybe your mum was a perfectionist, and therefore you were sick and tired of being perfect and being slim and having to look your best, and that there was a lot of verbal or non-verbal criticism towards you with weight or with your figure or with how you looked like. And my impression is, especially next year and the year thereafter, you will need to delve deeper into your own emotions to actually get to the bottom of this, what has been really happening here, because your self-worth, and at birth, most likely even, you didn't feel that you were supposed to be here, maybe even. So be very aware that you are not in a good place when you go too deep. Start first with a more healthy lifestyle of going for walks, eating more healthy, cutting out junk food, don't eating too big meals in the evenings, really looking after your lifestyle, and take extra chromium, or take also extra vitamin B12, because my feeling is you're often fatigued, which could be the lack or deficiency in vitamin B12. That's what I just see, and that I have the feeling you're really an emotional eater. Don't delve and do too deep thinking and stay too deep here in your misery, because then it will not go away, because you can't get out of this rut of being stuck. And I hope you know what I mean. So really focus on being proactive with looking at your lifestyle, looking at what you eat, at your exercises, getting enough sleep, and then really focusing on that more than on going too deep into the story why you are really overweight. Because as soon as you also count calories with a Fitbit, or with walking and having it on a Fitbit, you become aware of what is a lot of calories, what really makes fat, and where are really your weak spots. I have looked now at Lynette Maxon Scholes. You asked me about, yes, and any message from my mum. What immediately, Lynette, number one, what I could see is that you learn through losses. You learned a lot through losing your mum, and you are a natural person who is an empath, who's a therapist, who's a loner, who can make easily contact with people on the other side. Your mum is so excited. She showed me this absolute excitement and being out of breath. And maybe that's how she used to be also on when she was really alive and well, that she was always out of breath like I'm at the moment. I'm a typical emotional empath, so I take on everybody's stuff. And in this case, it's your mum, because she's so excited to come through and say it's so beautiful. She's so surprised. She's so happy. And that it's important for you to know that she's happy, because you're finishing off a cycle. You need to know this so that you can move on into another cycle and a new beginning within the next year. There's nothing, she says, that you need to have any regrets about. And even during the last few months, days of her life, she wants to ask you to really forgive and forget, because she wasn't herself. And she wants you to remember the good times where she was always excited of having a new adventure or being in a new place. And she says, she showed me this place where she's at. It's like a paradise, Lynette Maxon Scholes. It's like a paradise state. So there are valleys and trees and birds and waterfalls and hills, and it's just so beautiful. And your mum is sitting down on that valley like a lawn, like grass, and she wants to sit there on a sort of a blanket. She loved it when it had red and white, and it was like colorful, and she loved to have coffee in a flask or picnics or eating outside. And she sits in the sun and she just thinks it's so magical being in this kind of heaven. And she wants you to know that all is so beautiful and she's so happy, and you mustn't worry. The next one is for Mary Elizabeth Kutsia. Mary, you asked me about your grandson, Joshua. And the first thing that I really want to say to you is, Mary, that your grandson is old enough to go and work. And you have done enough for him to actually now move forward. And you don't have to sacrifice yourself anymore, because what you've done here is not necessary, but you've done it. You looked after your daughter's son. And Gina, she was quite a intense person. That's the way I see her suddenly, because she would have her rules and regulations, what she wanted people to do. And somehow, Mary, you followed through on her demands, and you took on to bring up your grandson for all these years. You now need to be more with boundaries and actually say to him, it's time to now really step up, find a job, show me what you're doing, where you're applying, what you want to learn, because you've placated this boy for too long, Mary Elizabeth Kutsia, in being lazy and having excuses, and you've made excuses for him. There's no excuse, because even that his mum died, which is terrible for you and was for him, but it's not an excuse anymore for him not finding a job and actually giving you now time for yourself and to focus time and energy on yourself, and to let go of this responsibility of a boy who's your grandson, but he's not a boy anymore. He's an adult. He's a young adult, and you need to give him the next 5-6 months, put down the boundary of he needs to then have a job, because you cannot keep on carrying him, and you will not accept any excuses or lame excuses, Gina says, because she would have not been happy with him, because she was a precise person and she wanted things to be done the right way. So I just see that she is also now at a point where she says, you've done enough, Mum, you've done enough. She called you something else like Mookie, or she called you something else, but she comes through here and says, it's enough. It's enough now. It's enough now. You don't have to him anymore. He takes advantage of you, Mary. Put down boundaries and then have your life. Really. The next one is Charmaine Cochran Abrams, who says your daughter is suffering from depression. Charmaine, what's very important is that your daughter has serious problems in relationships, and very much it's a sore spot, her relationships. Yes, she's young. Yes, she can finish her studies if she really puts her mind to it and becomes very focused, not in being perfect, but that she really concentrates on her health, and she also makes her health a priority and not something that she can live with and then make you worried, and you give her energy, and you step up and you worry about her, because then she's doing nothing, and she will then not put her mind and focus on the studies. You need to say to her, she either finishes her studies or she then needs to go and waitress or do whatever she needs to be doing, because you need to put on a bit of discipline, a bit of a more definite situation, because your daughter also needs to stand on her own feet. She needs to be independent. She needs to be self-sufficient as she grows up. And I would get her 5-HTP, and I would see to it that she starts doing exercises and puts the focus on exercises and good health, not in being perfect, but being focused and then focusing on her studies. Because this allowing her to go with the flow and to feel sorry for herself, and then you make her depression as an excuse, is that kite can't fly. This you cannot allow anymore. So please, Charmaine, become a bit more firm. Become a mum. Yes, be concerned about her. Support her in going for walks or to the gym, and having definite hours for studying, so that there is no doubt that she will pass her exams. And do not let any depression be an excuse, because she needs to get up, dress up, wake up, and show up. That is a discipline, and it can become a blisscipline, because don't allow this girl to pull the wool over your eyes. Liana Kleinhans, career change. You want to study into quantum health, and whether that's the best option, Liana. Liana, what I could see is that quantum is not a bad idea. Your life mission is very much into. Now, what I saw here, what is very important is that you went through major career changes, and you're still going through major career changes, because even your love life and what you love and that you can make money for yourself is a definite, but you're going through a death and a rebirth, in other words, through a major transformation of letting go of a lot of things, even career-wise, and a career change is on the books here. And if you don't make it, it will be made for you. So it's time that you look at it and say, how will I take care of myself financially? And how will I make these changes? And that you make these changes because you also are a caregiver. So your career was recently very much changed, or your life mission was very much changed, because you're a caregiver. So do not focus too much on philosophical stuff or new age stuff, but think in terms of giving service. So it's more on nursing, caregiving, looking after, than just doing a research, which quantum health could be, because it's too much into philosophies and not really into taking people's hand and looking after them and giving them a service, which a mother would do. So really look into this, because this is in conflict with what you love, because you want to make money and you want to go with your own freedom here and doing your own philosophies, etc., which is not the direction to go. The direction to go is, yes, have an own business, because you're very strong, very organized. The older you get, the more you will want to be on your own. You're not a relationship person or partnership person. In other words, do your own job, do your own business, follow through in own business, but look at it as a caregiver. Choose the direction where you are a caregiver, where you have people that you can hold their hand and you can guide them through whatever they're going through. So a therapist, a caregiver, a looking after people is also the same as caregiving. A home decorator, even food and nurturing people is very important. It's very important for you to do. So have a look what you can combine your new ideas with, how you can make it more nurturing, more service oriented. Last but not least is Christiane Floriot, and you asked me whether you should give your boyfriend or whether you would have the finances to help your boyfriend, your partner, in other words. And I want to say to you, somebody who's a partner or a loved one who wants money from you, you need to look after yourself, because this year is all about being very focused on your own life. You have major hard lesson in relationships, and in brackets, don't betray yourself, because you need to first find fulfillment also for yourself and rather live for humanity. Do not help him, because you will shoot yourself in the foot. Be warned that this would be the wrong step, because you cannot buy this man and you cannot help him. Don't rescue him. You cannot rescue somebody else, because even in a sinking ship, you need to look after yourself first. Even if an aeroplane doesn't have oxygen anymore, you need to put the oxygen mask first on your own face before you can put it on anybody else's face. Please, Christiane Floriot, look after yourself first. You have this automatic trust in other people. Just know that often other people are not to be trusted like you can be trusted. You're a good person. You're very spiritual. You're prepared to give of yourself, which is really kind of endearing. But here you do it for the wrong reason, and it will bite you in the ass. Honestly, please don't do it. Excuse my French. Don't. It will be a hard lesson in this relationship and in any further relationships. And you're at an age where you cannot take risks like that. Don't do it, because you need to look after yourself, especially for the next 2 years and into the future. So I think with that, I have looked at all the people. And message from my father, Zelna Burtis. Zelna, when I see your dad, then I see him sitting somewhere and he's got his knees are showing, so he's wearing shorter pants. And I think this was when he was around the mid-50s, most probably. And he was quite a thinker, and you could see when he was thinking, and then he tried to give advice from a well thought through foundation. And he says he's now like, it's like, gives me the impression of like on a farm, like in a landscape, or where he goes for walks. He loved his own space. He loved to go for walks and think. He was a thinker. He was a visionary. He was a beautiful person in the depths that he wanted to always get. And then he gave his deeper thinking on life. And you need to remember him like that. Only like that, he says, because that was his true nature. Yeah, forget about his passing, because he wants you to forget about it. Irene, message from your dad. Irene Stein. Irene Stein, message from your dad. He waves. He's not as yet where he wants to be. There are many levels that you can go up. There are many heavens, like Bible describes it. There are many levels, there are many avenues, many rooms, many different levels, and he's still not where he wants to go, Irene. So he's still learning, he's still evolving, he's still going into higher levels, Irene Stein. And you need to know that he's curious. He's an adventurous person, but more curious. He's really wanting to get higher up, to be closer to God, and to fathom what all these levels mean. So he's very much into evolving spiritually more as a soul. So he doesn't look back, but he wants you to know he's doing well. He's always was goal orientated and focused, and that's how I see him at the moment. He just looks up and he says, I want to go further up. I want to go further towards God. I want to evolve. I want to shoot up. He's also not somebody for a lot of patience. So Irene, you need to know that that's the way that he goes, and you need to wish him well, because he's okay. He's really okay. And yes, you are still grieving, and it's all right to go through those stages, but know that he's fine. I need to finish this off now. Please, if you want a reading from me, go onto my website, mariettatennyson.com. I also want to say that I've ordered some hard copy books of my book, The Ultimate Transformation. I live in Bloberg Strand in West Beach. You can order a hard copy from me or come and fetch it for $2.20, that's South African Rand. Or then my book, Ultimate Transformation, or Die Finale Keerpunt, which is the Afrikaans translation of it, is also on my website to be downloadable for 150 Rand, which is really just nothing really. You can read this book within a matter of 3.5 hours, and it will give you a lot of information of what I gathered during my life and how I experienced heavens and where people are and how you can really get in touch with them and what you really can do with getting in touch with your loved ones and not to stay stuck in grief. But we'll go into that in my next live video, which I most probably will do tomorrow or on Saturday. Wish you all well. Have a lovely evening and a beautiful Friday. I most probably will come on tomorrow again and give some more readings, because it seems to be an excellent reception this time, and most probably a better time to do it. Speak to you tomorrow again. Namaste.